the ferryman-like model, the trap there is, and this is especially relevant because we don't come from a purely Buddhist background, Many of us, right, don't come from that background. So whether you know it or not, your old views that you did not even actively believe in, but it's so much part of your culture. It's this idea of like collective enlightenment, literally, collective enlightenment. That enlightenment can be a social movement. And often we misunderstand the Bodhisattva path. We think, oh, look, it says we all. If that is the goal, Buddha Shakyamuni failed, right? Did Buddha Shakyamuni change social structure? Did Buddha Shakyamuni dismantle, all these, structural injustice? No. So he must have failed. And then if we say Buddha Shakyamuni failed, then then the rest of Buddhism meaningless, yeah? Right? But more than just, well, surely Buddha Shakyamuni did not fail. So that's not my point, okay? I'm just trying to use some logical inconsistency to point out. If you hold that view, then... But more importantly, if we truly understand the essence of what the Buddha taught, then liberation is only possible at the level of each person liberated or each person in bondage. Even like expression like collective karma, right? It doesn't mean, that you did not create the cause and somehow you got stuck with the result together with others. That's not the meaning of collective karma. And collective is only collective if you look superficially. As in, in a way, here we have collective karma, good collective karma. We're all gathered here together this morning on this Saturday, learning these teachings of the Buddha. But it's not the case that, some lifetime ago, one of you did something, then somehow we all collectively is experiencing this now. No, we each created our own causes. Then collectively, here we are. Only in that sense, collective. But it cannot be, collective karma, as in someone did the job, now we are enjoying the results. Doesn't happen this way. So we take refuge with the Bodhisattva. With the Bodhisattva view, for the sake of all beings, I will take refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. From now until enlightenment is reached, from lifetime to lifetime, no matter how many lifetimes this takes, I will commit myself to this for the sake of all beings. That is the Mahayana way of taking refuge. But even Mahayana way, cannot cancel out uh, the foundations of what the Buddha taught. Again, which is we each we are each the heir to the karma that we created. So happiness and suffering will unfold accordingly. Teachings on karma also means, on another level, we are responsible for the outside world around us. So this is the side that also says you have to take care of things. When you see other people being oppressed, you have to do something about it. When you see other people suffering, you have to try to help them. Short term, long term, to whatever ability you can, you have to help. So karma tells us, teachings on karma tells us, it matters what's happening outside. So we are also not saying, the right way to practice the Dharma is to ignore what's happening outside. That is to ignore how karma works. Yeah, so understanding that, the more reason we have to really train ourselves in the four immeasurable minds. Beginning with the training in metta, loving kindness, that is the very foundation of the other three immeasurables. If we put mainly our effort into cultivating the first one, then the other three can arise very naturally. Dala dhamma jebe dra no pari jebe geng tharpa dan tham je kempe bardu chopra jeba tham je gis jebe ma nangka dang nyambe senjen tham je dewa dang den dunya dandre nerdu lana me pa yang Dabara zobe chanju rinpoche dobra ja dala dhamma jebe da nobar jebe ge tarba dan tamje gembe bardu chopra jeba tam je ki se jebe ma nang ka dang nyambe senjen tamje deva dan den Dungao dandre nedu lana me pa yang dabara zobe janju rinpoche dobra ja dala dangwa jebe da nobar jebe ge tarba dang tamje kembe baridu jobra jeba tam je ge se jebe ma nang ka dang nyambe senjen tamje dewa dan de Dungao dandre nerdu lana me pa yang dabra zobe chanju rinpoche dobra cha de je du sangma keki bardu longa yisum ke wala go mashi bardu longa yisum ke wala go du dering ne sunde ne ma santa samge bardu longa yisum Gewala go songye chodan soge chonam la chanju bardu dani gyamsu je dage jinsu gebe sonam ge drola penjir sangye drubra jo sangye chodan soge chonam la chanju bardu dani gyamsu je Dage jinsu gibe sonam ge drola penchir sangye drupra shu sangye chodan soge chonam la chanchu bardu dani kyabsu je dagi jinsu gibe sonangi chola pencher sange dobra sho. Kadang nyambe senjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyundan dempara girje dungyao dan dungyao gi gyudan dewa girje dungyao mebe dewa dame dewa girje nerin chadan nidan dewe danyon la nebra girje Kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyundan dembra gyurje dungao dang dungyao gi gyudang dewa gyurje dungao mepe dewa dame dewa gyurje nering chadang nidang dewe dang nyong la nebra gyurje ma nangka dang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyundan dembra gyurje Dungao dan dungyao gi gyudan dewa gyurje dungao mebe dewa dame dewa gyurje nering chada nidan dewe danyo la nebra gyurje. So to refresh our understanding of the four immeasurables, yeah? There are first, what are the exact opposites of these four immeasurable minds? So these are called the clearly different. So the clear enemies. This expression, clear enemies of these four immeasurable minds. So metta, the clear opposite is a malicious mind, an attitude, a heart that seeks to harm. So that's the opposite of metta, the opposite of friendliness, the opposite of a heart that is well intentioned, good intention, a heart that wishes happiness. So then, there is also, right? There is also what's known as the near enemies, what I call the evil twins, and in that sense, the evil twins are way more, and the evil twins are way more tricky or dangerous that we have to watch for. So the evil twin of metta, of maitri, is possessiveness. It's possessiveness. Then karuna, what we call compassion. The clear opposite is hatred, even stronger than ill will, even stronger than malice is active hate. That's the complete opposite. Wanting to see someone suffer. So like this, like you could say cruel, this kind of cruel mind, a mind of cruelty. Right? So then, what is the near enemy? It's called pity. Like, oh, oh, pity you. That's the near enemy for uh, compassion. Joy, its very opposite is its very opposite of joy is to become deflated, the opposite of being inspired, to become deflated. That's the clear opposite of joy. The near enemy, the evil twin of joy, is this superficial kind of, oh, I'm happy, you're happy. What's the problem? Come on, cheer up. And then finally, equanimity. The opposite of equanimity, clear opposite, is partiality. We care so much for those that we want, that we like, that we count as close to us, and we cannot stand those who are not in our in-group being happy. Then the near enemy of equanimity is indifference. Indifference. And so this can also be, indifference in the sense of thinking, it doesn't matter. And many of us are kind of dangerously encouraging this attitude. Too much like Dzogchen Mahamudra, oh, everything is just fine. Everything is just, it doesn't really matter. To the point of undermining our understanding and respect for the truth of causality, karmic causality. So then we don't pay attention, to cause and effect. We don't pay attention to actions and consequences of our actions. So that's indifference. It's the near enemy. And in some ways, that is the most dangerous. Of all the near enemies, that's the most dangerous. So Khyaba Rinpoche says, the three poisons: delusion, attachment, aversion. He says, the delusions often seems most innocent and least dangerous. But in fact, it's the most dangerous because it lies at the root. Out of there is how attachment and aversion arises. The consequences of aversion is easy to see, and therefore easy to want to be free from. The consequences of attachment, hard to see, hard to always understand, and therefore hardest to let go of. And then delusion underlies both these problems. Delusion that then leads to confusion underlies both these two other poisons. And so this is a brief review of the four immeasurables. So now, as I said, last week we looked at you could say, the sutra teachings surrounding Buddha Amitabha, Buddha Amitabha's Pure Land, what are the dependent arisings, what's the history, so to say, the cause and effect of Amitabha and Amitabha's Pure Land, and how understanding that particular set of cause and effect, that particular set of dependent arising with regards to how Amitabha became Amitabha, how his sphere of activity called Sukhavati became Sukhavati, understanding all of that, then we know how to relate to Amitabha's Pure Land. And on that level are all the practices, all the techniques, all the methods related to ensuring that when this life, like literally when this life, this human body that we have now, when it comes to an end, we are able to direct our rebirth to Amitabha's Pure Land, to Sukhavati. So, of course, on one level, it sounds like, it's a big change from here to there. But the idea is by training here to always like turn our mind towards Sukhavati, towards coming into the presence of Amitabha, by habituating that now, then that transition, that transference, poa, basic meaning of poa, transference, transition. That transition becomes a very smooth transition. One moment you are here, next moment you are there. But how to bridge the moment here and the moment there? Well, the more we make the moments here like the moments there, then easier that transition. And hence, a lot of these aspiration prayers for rebirth in Sukhavati rehearses, reminds us all the qualities of Sukhavati. And we become more and more aware of the qualities of Sukhavati, and we reaffirm our desire to be born, to go to Sukhavati. And that also means, right, the other side of that is we become less and less tethered. We become less and less attached to the confused existence that we are operating from now. So the essence of vowing to be born in Sukhavati, the essence of making aspirations to be in the land of Sukhavati is to turn away from the causes of suffering. If we don't turn away from the causes of suffering, then whatever happiness that we want cannot be achieved. It's just fanciful thinking. One thing results where there are no causes. So no matter how much, you water, and how much water you give, to this little square of soil, and how much sunlight you give, if the Bodhi seed is not there, The Bodhi tree is not going to sprout. Some other stray seeds may sprout, but it's not the Bodhi tree. So we have to have the right seeds planted. And so last week we talked about the 4 causes, right? And the 4 causes to rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land. So these 4 causes to Amitabha's Pure Land. First one is generating bodhicitta. So that means you cannot be born in Amitabha's Pure Land if the reason why you want to go there is out of disgust with this world. Oh, terrible. This is a terrible time. This is a terrible place. I want to go somewhere else. Actually, all these people I'm stuck with, not interested, right? So then that cannot work. Because the purpose of even going to Amitabha's Pure Land is not to have a jolly good time. That's not the purpose. That is, rebirth in the God realms. You can go for that. The whole purpose of going to Amitabha's Pure Land is not just to get out of the unhappy situation you are in here, but in order for achieving Buddhahood more quickly. Why more quickly? Again, it cannot be because I don't want to spend so much time. But it has to be, how soon can I become the king, so to say, right? And then have full power to help those that are within my power to help. Second, you need to accumulate merit. Merit is the fuel. Third, we need to remain focused. We need to remain focused on our goal of being born in Amitabha's Pure Land. And fourth, to dedicate all of our merit towards this rebirth. So these are the 4 causes. Right? So this is, you could say, the sutra level emphasis. Then even in the practice of powa, right, which many of you are familiar with, for sure, you could say the technique of powa is a secret mantra, comes from the secret mantra context, meaning, for example, first you appear in the form of a idam, and in the Drigong powa, it's in the form of Vajavarahi. Then you focus on the central channel inside your body, and then transferring the essence of your being, this represented by this bindu, and causing all the wind energies to enter the central channel through, in this case, in this Drigong powa, mainly through the power of devotion, then doing the transference. So the technique, you could say, is clearly secret mantra. But the broader, you could say, the broader framing is still, in a way, a sutra framing, which is going to this place, going to Amitabha's Pure Land when this life is over. Today, what we want to look at more closely is the more secret mantra understanding of Amitabha and going to Amitabha's Pure Land. Yeah? So that's what we want to focus on today. So for that, now, as a preliminary, we make an offering to dispel obstacles. So the obstacles can come in all forms. Some very innocently, Right? It's like I can hear, kids outside having a great time sledding in the snow, So obstacle could be, ooh, wow, so much fun. And then if we even think, oh, I'm practicing metta, getting distracted. Didn't you say, metta can be experienced when you think of the little ones playing. Oh, look, they're playing outside. Then physically, maybe here, but mentally, it's already somewhere else, But anyway, just think, it says here, you obstacles, ghosts, and obstructing spirits, be satisfied by this offering and go to where you belong. But before that, the more specific taking of refuge and generating bodhicitta, this is according to the empowerment text. So just for auspiciousness, I will also chant those. So it says, I take refuge, in Buddha, Amitabha, and in Amitabha's teachings, which is the Dharma. And then all those who have followed those teachings and become his disciples, which is the noble Sangha in the Pure Land. For the sake of all wandering beings, I will take refuge. We will take refuge until we ourselves achieve Buddhahood. Shri Dusum Deshe Gyawa Malu Be Sungi Dorje Drempa Nang Taye Desun Chodan De Drum Genden La Changchu Bardu Drogun Kyapsu Ji Shri Dusum Deshe Gyawa Malu Be Sungi Dorje Drempa Nang Taye Desun Chodan De Drum Genden La Changchu Bardu Drogun Kyapsu Je Shri Dusum Deshe Gyawa Malu Be Sungi Dorje Demba Nang Taye Desun Chodan De Dru Genden La Chanchu Bardu Drogun Kyapsu Je. And then the bodhicitta it says, seeing how wandering beings are bound by the iron chains of endless suffering inside this prison that we call the six realms. In order to free them, to free us from this condition, we generate both aspiration and application, bodhicitta. So this part about seeing how beings are bound by the iron chains of boundless suffering, it is seeing the faults. It's seeing the flaws, seeing the faults of sentient beings. Yourself as a sentient being and others as sentient beings. This is not, sometimes people are shy to do this and say, oh, I don't want to judge others. Yes, of course, don't judge others. But having clear understanding where suffering comes from involves us seeing clearly because we created the causes of suffering. So now we are experiencing the playing out of those causes. And when when we are under the power of suffering, we tend to make bad choices because like produces like. This is how karmic principle works. So often, when we are most under the power of suffering, is when we create the worst types of karma. So we have to see that. In that sense, we need to have clear judgment about the foolishness of that. Superficially, it might look like, the way other people think about, you need to judge others, and maybe in some spiritual traditions, there's like, oh, you're a sinner. You have done bad things. Here, we're not talking about bad and good. That is the next layer. Here, we just need to focus on the most basic layer, which is how karma works, how karma unfolds. And when we understand the more basic layer, then it's no longer judgment, right? In that moralistic sense of judgments, it's simply knowing how things work. We need to understand, we need to remind ourselves again and again how things work. So the equanimity, when we said, free from bias of attachment and aversion, it becomes indifference when we do not have the understanding of cause and effect and do not pay attention to the teachings on cause and effect. Then it becomes just indifference. Then that's the worst type of ignorance. No end to this problem of suffering. And so be careful, When we say, the best way to activate the Buddha activity of pacifying suffering is to train in equanimity. It's not training in indifference. It's not training in soothing yourself. Oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. When a child does something stupid, yes, maybe the first thing is when they are experiencing the results of whatever that stupid decision, they're in so much anguish and pain, you have to say, oh yeah, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But you're not doing the child any favors, if you don't help them see causality. So your inner child, so to say, you need skill how to deal with this inner child. Likewise, you're not effective if you say, well, they need to know the truth. And then when the ripening of a dumb decision happens and they are so anguished and in pain, and you're like, see, I told you so. Also not helpful. But when we understand, and we're clear about karmic causality, and then taking the bodhisattva vow is meaningful, is impactful, and meaningful change can happen. Shri Parame Duke Chadugi Jingshin Gyude Zonra Tsupe Jowana Nyamye Jigle Yangda Kyab Jejir Mondang Zupe Jangju Semgirdo. Hri Bharme Duke Chadugi Chingshin Gyude Tsonra Tsupe Jowanam Nyamnge Jigle Yangda Kyab Jejir Mondan Zupe Changju Sem Do Hri Bharme Duke Chadugi Chingshin Gyude Tsonra Tsupe Jowanam Nyamnge jigle yangda kyab je jir mondan zupe changju semkyen ho. And now the torma being offered to dispel obstacles. So this is the symbolic torma, a little bit of the food that we normally eat. But it's really, metta. It's really loving kindness that we're offering to the obstacles, to the obstructors. Loving kindness. With loving kindness, then you can truly dispel obstacles. So you should think like that. The mantra that is used is called the Akaro mantra. Akaro is the A syllable mantra. And what is the A syllable mantra? And the A syllable mantra, in essence, is a few pithy words where you are to use the power of your realization of the emptiness of inherent existence. The A syllable is the symbol of emptiness. Why? Because in the Sanskrit language, in the understanding of Sanskrit, all sounds that we make, no matter what sound it is that we make, no matter what word it is that we pronounce, they all have the A syllable in it. So even the sound A is in it. And the sound wa, A is in it. The sound huh, A is in it. And therefore, whatever words that we use, A is there. So that then becomes the symbol for emptiness. So Heart Sutra, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Even when form is there, form is only possible to be there because emptiness is there. So with that understanding, then our metta becomes powerful, becomes pervasive. Our compassion becomes effective. So without wisdom, even the four immeasurables have limited powers, limited impact. But with the correct understanding of emptiness, then all becomes possible. Dispelling obstacles become possible because we also know obstacles are merely the undesirable playing out of unskillful actions. And now that they have reached a point where they are playing out, actually, not much you can do about it. But you can reduce your dukkha by not feeding it. Agaro mukam sarva dharman namadhyanu banadvada ahum bhe swaha. Agaro mukam sarva dharman namadhyanu banadvada ahum bhe swaha. Agaro mukam sarva dharman namadhyanu banadvada ahum bhe swaha. Re chi me wang bu zhu bei gyu gu ji nga chen cha gya darwa mi wang we par jo dong ge chu jin tor ma di sim par gi la rang ne su den om. Tōngbē ngāng lē rinpo jē nō gē nāng dō hōng yē shū wē lē chōng wē jē chō yōng sāb zē mē tō dō bō mar mē tī chā shē sē rō mō dō yōng ngā rēn chē nā dōn dā shē tā gē gē sō chō lā gē sō chō bē chēn rā chān sām gē mī kiab bē nam kē kāng tham chē gāng wā rī gī rō ōm bādrā āgram ā hōng ōm bādrā pādāng ā hōng ōm bādrā bush bē ā hōng Om Bhadra Dubbe Ahong, Om Bhadra Aloke Ahong, Om Bhadra Gende Ahong, Om Bhadra Nevede Ahong, Om Bhadra Shata Ahong. So that is the blessing of the offerings. After blessing the offerings, we invite Buddha Amitabha to come from the Pure Land, to be where we are. So you can think now, the invoking of the presence of Buddha Amitabha and all his retinue, Avalokiteshvara, Vajrapani, all the great bodhisattvas. Rinuju Deva Jingi Shingamne Jonden Gompo Sanje Nangtaye Choju Sanje Changsem Gorgi Go Tukje Sergo Nede Jimpoje Om Namo Dharma Niramana Sambhoga Kaya. So this is the preliminary to if we were doing the empowerment, but these preliminaries, of course, can be done even when we're not doing the empowerment. please turn to your that text that we shared last week. Gilbert Rinpoche's Aspiration Prayers for Sukhavati. Sometimes it is said that this was composed by Gilbert Rinpoche, but there is also evidence that actually before it was attributed to Gilbert Rinpoche, it was actually attributed to Nagarjuna. But because in Tibet uh, uh, there is a common kind of common acceptance that Gilbert Rinpoche was the reincarnation of Nagarjuna, and so sometimes it's the they confuse, they say, oh, this was by Nagarjuna, and somebody thinks, oh, this is by the second Nagarjuna. But either way, first, second, this expresses the qualities of the Pure Land. So I'm going to chant this. I'm going to do it in English. I don't know if there is a Spanish for it or not. If there is, in the Spanish channel, Andreas can lead reading this in Spanish. But if not, I think many of you understand at least a little bit of English. So just listen with your heart to the qualities of Buddha Amitabha and Amitabha's Pure Land, and make this kind of remember the four causes of rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land, and apply those four causes now. From here in the realm above and to the west is the perfectly pure Buddha field called the blissful. I pay homage before you, the Supreme Victor, who has perfectly fulfilled your aspirations and to your inconceivable heirs. The jewel ground is smooth and vast beyond limits. There is no division into oceans, hills, valleys, and other continents. It is luminous and radiant, blissful and joyous. May we be reborn in this realm of the Victor. It is adorned with trees made of various jewels. Its scented rivers are filled with jewel lotuses. It wafts with fragrant aroma and is abundant in flowers and fruits. May we be reborn in this glorious, pure, supreme realm. Flocks of emanated birds proclaim the melodious sounds of Dharma. The wind's blissful gusts shower down rains of flower blossoms. Everything is beautifully arrayed, radiant and delightful. May we be reborn in this perfect and prosperous realm. All of the trees, wind, water, and lotuses give rise to offering clouds of sense pleasures, increasing happiness with pleasant forms, sounds, smells, taste, and touch. May we be reborn in this realm where all desires are spontaneously fulfilled. From everything multicolored light shines forth the Buddha's exalted body, adorned with the major and minor marks. It is like space, teaching the profound Dharma. May we be reborn in this realm of the perfect Dharma Dhatu, even words for the lower realms. Demigods or unfree states are unheard of beings. There are born from lotus flowers. There is no affliction, no karma, nor the slightest suffering. May we be reborn in this realm, free from all imperfections. Here there is little difference between the bodies and possessions of gods and humans. All are of the same golden color, adorned with all the major and minor marks. There is no attachment to the 5 super knowledges and the 5 clairvoyances. May we be reborn in this realm of utterly perfect qualities without grasping to places, substances, and bodies as mine. Whatever desires one wishes for will appear. Everyone is engaged in the profound Dharma of the Supreme Vehicle. May we be reborn in this realm where the great vehicle is fully present. Through miraculous powers, one can travel to infinite pure lands. Oceans of offering clouds arise from the palm of one's hand, making offerings to all Buddhas and ripening and liberating all wandering beings. May we be reborn in this supreme Nirmanakaya realm called the display of jewel lotuses, the supreme Bodhi tree, 1,600 cubits high, adorned with many garlands of flowers and fruits. May seeing it lead to the attainment of perfect exalted qualities. The jewel ground is adorned with various flowers. In the center are lotuses with stems and pistils, endowed with utterly illuminating, brilliant, and vivid rays of light. May we behold this lotus abode that is so supreme. In front is the Buddha and protector Amitabha. On his right is the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. And on his left is the Bodhisattva Mahastama Prapta. May we see them surrounded by countless Bodhisattvas. Their light is immeasurable, and their brilliance too is immeasurable. Their lifespans there are immeasurable, and their Sangha too is immeasurable. This supreme victor is surrounded and beautified by bodhisattvas. May we be reborn in this realm. After being born from a lotus in this realm, one is endowed with divine sight and hearing. One can remember past lives and has supreme intelligence. May we as well obtain these supreme miraculous powers, having seen that excellent, fully awakened Buddha, our protector of the world, and having listened to the profound Dharma with reverence, may we complete the 10 bhumis in that very instant, having received a prophecy from Sugata Amitabha. We will make offerings to countless kotis of Buddhas. May we, through the power of miraculous emanation, visit many realms and make offerings to all the victors. And may all beings be ripened and liberated. This world of great bliss is unfathomable. The being's accumulation of bliss is unimaginable. Its emanations of the victors and their heirs are inconceivable. May we be reborn in this unimaginable supreme realm at the time of death. May we behold Victor Amitabha together with his retinue and be filled with faith. May we instantly, with undistracted mindfulness, perform transference and be reborn miraculously in the blissful realm. The entire assemblies of Vedas and Dakinis in great bliss will wholeheartedly welcome with various parasols, banners, and standards, and with symphonies of music and various offering clouds. May we be reborn in this celestial realm. May we follow in their likeness of the aspiration of the Bodhisattva monk Dharmakara, who possessed mindfulness, intelligence, and realization, and delighted in vast wisdom and diligence. By the great truth of the three jewels, by the pristine nature of the Dharma Dhatu and its blessings, by the infallible power of karmic cause and effect, by the aspiration made with supreme intention and bodhicitta, and by the strength of all accumulated and accumulating merit, may these aspirations surely be accomplished. We pray, O Amitabha, Buddha of infinite light, care for us compassionately. O Venerable Avalokiteshvara, grant us your blessings, O Bodhisattva Mahastama Prapta. Guide us to that realm through the light of your wisdom. Guide us to that realm through the light of your compassion. Guide us to that realm by the power of your skillful means. From here in the western direction, there is the Buddha field of Amitabha. May whoever holds his name be reborn in that supreme pure land. Just as the lotus is unstained by mud, may we be unstained by the defilements of the three realms. Having arisen from the lotus of existence, may we be born in this blissful realm. So that is one of many, actually, such aspiration prayers. And most of these aspiration prayers for rebirth in the Pure Land are based on a few Pure Land sutras. So in this one, let me see. Yeah, so it doesn't say actually this one. But there's another aspiration prayer. Maybe I'll share, we'll send to all of you later. It's Amitabha's another aspiration for rebirth in the Pure Land. And this one is composed by Drigong Dhammakirti, Drigong Choda. So there are many such aspiration prayers. So now the secret mantra aspect or the secret mantra level of relating to and understanding Amitabha practice. So for that we begin by, if you one way, right, to understand these different levels of relating to the practice. So, for example, most of us know in Tibetan Buddhism, often there is the three levels called outer, inner, secret. And then sometimes a fourth one called suchness is added. So if we use the example of taking refuge, so then the outer aspect of taking refuge is taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So we should not make the mistake of thinking, outer, not really necessary. It's the refuge for dummies. But no, outer means, that is the basis. In fact, first you have to approach it from there. So then this outer is to take refuge in the Buddha, meaning, right? To have confidence, to have conviction that Siddhartha did become Buddha. Siddhartha did achieve enlightenment, and therefore he is now a reliable guide. He's a reliable guide. He's a reliable guide in guiding us through the Dharma that he has taught. And our conviction in him being a reliable guide is not just at the level of, oh, he's reliable, but also to really trust what he said about how any one of us, if we follow exactly what he says, in other words, follow the example of what he did. See, what he taught is based on what he did. So if we follow what he did, then we too can become like him. Then we practice what he taught, we do what he did, and then there are those more senior and experienced than us, and that is called the Sangha. Sangha as an object of refuge, not Sangha in the ordinary sense. We are a Sangha in the ordinary sense, but really we don't qualify as an object of refuge. Yeah. But as an object of refuge, it needs to be those who have at least achieved the first Bodhisattva Bhumi. So and this is the outer refuge. Then the inner refuge, we say, is the Guru, the Idam, and the Dharmapala, or the Dakinis and Dharmapala as one category, 3. Then in this case, right, Guru is the Buddha personified. Whereas historical Buddha Shakyamuni is no longer available to us, that principle of guidance, that principle of example, not only guidance in terms of leading us by his words, but also leading us by his example, is to be found in the Guru. So this has become, inner means it has become more personal. In that sense, you could say, just as a footnote, whereas Buddha Shakyamuni universally is the object of refuge for all Buddhists. As to the one that you call your guru, that is your personal business. You cannot expect other people to also agree with you. Idam now is more concretely, in a way, the potential or the actuality of Buddhahood personified. And again, it's particular to you, who that Idam is. So that is the Dharma in much more personal and intimate terms. Right? All aspects of the Idam manifest those same Buddha qualities that we talk about with regards to any and all Buddhas. So in that way, any Idam is the embodiment of all Buddhas. And you train to appear in that form. Now, Sangha is the Dharmapalas and the Dakinis. So the function of Sangha, right, is to guide and to help, to assist, to lend assistance to us, because they are more advanced, they are more experienced. Now, the Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharmapalas serve that function. And they can turn up in our lives, sometimes, helping us by providing us what we would consider to be helpful support. But sometimes they also come and provide us with opportunity for growth by bringing what we may habitually consider, oh, that's bad, I don't want that. But it's good for our growth. So in other words, even the unpleasant things may be the Dharmapalas creating conditions for us to grow stronger. So now the Sangha doesn't just appear in the form of kindly nurses. They also become tough nurses, when we like, no, I don't want to take my medicine, then the wrathful nurse comes, or like, I don't want to do physical therapy today. It's I don't want. Oh no, then you need the uh, tough nurses, the tough PT to come. So that's also necessary. The secret refuge, we say, are now the channels, the winds, and the vital drops. These are elements of your Vajra body. They are the secret refuge. So by relying on working with the pathways of energy and the energy that move through these pathways and the vital drops, the minds that ride on this energy, by relying on these three elements, we can completely transform more powerfully, transform this ordinary body into the form of the Idam. Then the suchness refuge are the aspects of our innate mind. The emptiness aspect, the clarity aspect, and the all-pervasive aspect are the three, which also can be called the Dharmakaya of the mind, the Sambhogakaya of the mind, and the Nirmanakaya of the mind. These are the four levels of refuge. Likewise, then, there is the outer aspect of Amitabha, there is the inner aspect of Amitabha, and there is the secret aspect of Amitabha, there is the suchness aspect of Amitabha. The outer aspect of Amitabha is the sutra aspect of Amitabha. The one with a definite beginning, definite bodhisattva career, from the time as Dharmakara through many, many lifetimes of carrying the bodhisattva vow, carrying out the bodhisattva practices until achieving Buddhahood as Amitabha. That's the outer Amitabha. We rely on that outer Amitabha just as Buddha Shakyamuni's disciples relied on Buddha Shakyamuni 2,500 years ago. And just as how we now rely still on Buddha Shakyamuni, on the outer level, we relate to Amitabha like that. On the inner level, and so here I'm not going to go into the inner, the secret, the suchness, but you can combine all these three together as the inner aspect, the secret mantra aspect of Amitabha. Then, now Amitabha, though there is an outer Amitabha as a reference point, now the inner Amitabha is not a person. Yeah? But by relying on the outer Amitabha, the history, the story, or even if you want to say the mythology of Amitabha and his Pure Land, by relying on that, we can actualize, we can discover, we can realize the inner Amitabha. The Amitabha that is taught and emphasized in the secret mantra teachings. In that context, we have to talk about the 5 Buddha families. The 5 Buddha families in secret mantra teachings is the main organizing principle for all of samsara and nirvana. So all the teachings that the Buddha taught in the sutra level are also brought into the 5 Buddha family organizing principle. And then, of course, all the teachings of secret mantra are also in this organizing principle of the 5 Buddha families. So what are the 5 Buddha families? The Tathagata family, that is often placed in the central position. In the eastern direction, the Vajra family. In the southern direction, the Ratna family. In the western direction, the Padma family. In the northern direction, the Karma family. In this way, we have the 5 Buddha families. In terms of how mandalas are painted, then the quadrant, right? The corner, the quadrant, 4 quadrants with a center. The quadrant that is closest to us, that is always the eastern direction. And then what we see as our left, that is the southern Ratna quadrant. Then you have furthest away from us, that quadrant, that is the lotus, the Padma quadrant. And Amitabha is in that quadrant. For each of these 5 groups, 5 families, 5, the 5 main afflictive emotions are highlighted. So each of the family is connected to one of the 5 main kleshas. The central, the Tathagata family, the klesha there is delusion. The Vajra family, the klesha there is aggression, anger, hatred. The Ratna family in the southern quadrant, the main klesha there is pride. The western direction of the Padma family, the main klesha, the main affliction there is attachment, desire. Then the northern quadrant. The northern quadrant, where the Karma family is, the klesha there is jealousy. So these are the 5 kleshas and the 5 organized into the 5 families. Now, when each of these kleshas are cleared, often translated as purified, but I don't like that word. In Tibetan, there's no problem. Actually, in Tibetan, the word is literally purify. But because of the way Tibetan language is and the way English is, I think in English, it's inaccurate to say purify. Because it's not that we are purifying the kleshas. We are purifying our mind of the kleshas. Does that make sense? Know the distinction that I'm making? Yeah? So we are purifying our stream of being, our mind stream, however you want to translate that. Mind stream. Now I like stream of being. We are purifying that of the kleshas. So now my preferred word for what's normally translated as purifying the kleshas is clearing. Clearing the kleshas. Limpiar. Clearing the afflictions. Clearing the kleshas. So when the mind stream, when the stream of being is cleared of delusion, the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, which is the basic wisdom, because the Dharma Dhatu is the basic reality of all that exists. But right now, this basic reality is bifurcated into samsara and nirvana. Okay? Right now, the fundamental innate state of all that exists, animate and inanimate, it's called Dharma Dhatu. Which Dhatu is sphere. Dharma is Dharma. So the sphere of Dharma, in this case, Dharma means reality. So the sphere of reality is the underlying innate and underlying primordial identity of all that exists. But because we have forgotten this, we have lost this understanding, then this one reality is experienced as two possibilities: samsara or nirvana. It is said that when this first happened, and when we say first happened, okay, in Buddhism, we're not talking about something that happened a long, long time ago. We're talking about in this moment, when this first happened, when co-emergent ignorance, first, in that first moment of turning up, when there is recognition, oh, this is co-emergent ignorance, then in that instant, one becomes Vajradhara, one becomes Samantabhadra. That is nirvana achieved. But when we don't recognize that, oh, that is co-emergent ignorance, then that is the unfolding of samsara. Then, with the unfolding of samsara, we need to reverse samsara. Then we have the path, then we have the result called nirvana. So when we clear all the delusions related to this matter, related to this most important matter, then we achieve the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, the fundamental, basic wisdom of Buddhahood. That is when we become Samantabhadra, the ever excellent Samantabhadra, the Buddha, in Dzogchen material, Vajradhara in Mahamudra material. Same. Don't make the mistake of like, oh, the enlightenment of Dzogchen is more supreme to the enlightenment of Mahamudra. Somebody shared with me recently, they asked Khenchen Kongtrul Gyaltsen Rinpoche this question. Is it true? Something like that, or what do you think, in some Dzogchen text or some Dzogchen teacher say, oh, the Dzogchen enlightenment is more supreme and higher than the Mahamudra enlightenment. This friend of mine said, Rinpoche listened in a very engaged way, that he listened very carefully. And then he said, when it comes to space, is this space different from this space? He laughed. Is there a difference between this space, and he point here, and this space? No different. So anyway, uh, it's a funny thing. I mean, maybe I'm being petty here. It's a funny thing. You never have people teaching Mahamudra saying things like this. Oh, the Mahamudra enlightenment is higher than the Dzogchen enlightenment. I almost feel like the people who teach Dzogchen is maybe a little defensive. Have to say it's even higher than Mahamudra. But there is no difference. Yeah, this is basic understanding. So once this wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu is truly realized, and how is it realized? It's realized by clearing delusions. Now, delusions come in many, many, many layers. And so we clear them layer by layer. And then sometimes, in a very short moment of time, 10 layers can be cleared. 100 layers can be cleared. And sometimes it takes 100 years, 100 tries to remove one layer. That's just the nature of confusion. Just when you feel like you need to hurry, it feels like it will take forever. And just when you relax a little and no longer obsess, suddenly it clears so much. So don't be too fixated that it's only this way or that way. No, it can happen in all kinds of ways. Then from that wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, it's the basis for the other four wisdoms. Just as, delusion is the basis of the other four kleshas. If you want to present this more clearly, you could say, out of delusion, the first two kleshas that arise is the aggression and the attachment. Because basically, this is how it works, right? Not understanding things as they are, we begin to project. Not seeing things as they are, our projection kicks in. Our projection kicks in. And once our projection kicks in, there's two basic responses or result. Pushing away, pulling towards. Now, once we don't understand, things as they are, we either want to possess them or we want to be rid of them. We either like or we dislike. So this is also related to the basic teachings about how Vedana, sensation, as one of the 5 aggregates. This basic response in the Buddhist explanation, right? In the Buddha's explanation of what happens, how does the mind connects with what it experiences, and from there, how does it play out, right? So first there is consciousness, A specific moment of being conscious, of consciousness. Consciousness is conscious of an object of that consciousness. So if it is a sight type of consciousness, then that sight consciousness touches, comes in contact with a visual object. In that first moment of contact, this sensation arises, called Vedana, sometimes translated as feelings. But this is not the coarse feelings, oh, I feel great, I feel bad. That's already a whole ton of mental formations. Further down the aggregate list. I feel good, I don't feel good. That's way down the list already, okay? This is at this level where the moment contact is made between a specific moment of mind, a specific moment of consciousness, and the object of that consciousness, the first moment it comes into contact, a precognitive sensation already arose. And it arises in the form of like, painful, pleasurable, or neutral. With regards to the painful, like is the next moment. With regard to the with regard to the pleasurable, like comes. With regard to the painful, dislike comes. With regard to the neutral tone, indifference. But these are also the three poisons. Yeah. So in that first moment is actually called not knowing, avidya, marikpa, not knowing. Not knowing what? If we link it back to this notion of co-emergent ignorance, not knowing that in fact that is co-emergent ignorance, which means what? This expression co-emergent ignorance is pointing to how even this ignorance has no essence to it. And if you understand that, then you won't come under the power of ignorance. And so co-emergent, co with what? Co with emptiness. So when co-emergent ignorance turns up, we fail to recognize that. That's the more basic not knowing, avidya. From avidya arises delusion, aggression, attachment. Like and dislike. Then from these three, the interaction of these three, the other two major afflictions come up, pride and jealousy. Pride and jealousy comes up. When we clear aggression, the wisdom that now can manifest from the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, the specific wisdom that arises and functions for the benefit of others, is what's known as the mirror-like wisdom. Mirror-like wisdom, obviously this name uses a metaphor of the mirror. So it means, it has the ability, this is the kind of wisdom, the kind of understanding that reflects everything accurately, without mistake, and instantly. And this wisdom also leaves no traces. Just like, you can place an object in front of a mirror for 1 billion years. The minute you remove the object, the reflection on the mirror also disappears. And so it's a wisdom that leaves no traces. No side effects, in other words, not like the medicines that the pharmaceuticals sell you. I have not watched TV for so long. Sometimes I go to people's house and they have their TV on, then you see all these ads. And then you're like, oh my gosh, these pharmaceutical ads, they are scary. At least in the US, they will show you like I don't know how long an ad is, maybe 40 seconds or whatever, right? For the first like 35 seconds, they give you all this, like really like you are in heaven. That is, if you take this medicine, you are in this spa, like Pure Land, la 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 la, everything looks better. Then in the last 5 seconds, someone will read so fast, like Tibetan lamas giving lung. That's when they tell you, you could die like this, 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 but you look pretty. you know oh, it will take away your depression, but you could die like this, 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 die like this tomorrow. you know so this is not this kind of wisdom. No side effects wisdom, so mirror like wisdom. Effective, takes care of the problem, leaving no traces. When pride is cleared, then the wisdom of evenness arises. The even nature of all things becomes obvious, becomes clear. So you can settle into evenness, sometimes translated as equality wisdom. But this is not like, the declaration of the equal rights of all people. In any ways, that country that prides itself in that is tearing up that they don't believe anymore, it seems, in equality. So it's not equality in that sense, but it's the realization of the oneness nature of all things, the emptiness nature. So then it settles the mind. It's the wisdom that doesn't get rattled. Then it's also the opposite of pride, because pride is the singling out of I. I am most important, right? So the wisdom of evenness can only manifest when we clear pride. Then Amitabha family, lotus family, it's when attachment is cleared. And I will talk more about that this afternoon. When attachment is cleared, the wisdom that arises is called the wisdom of discernment. We'll look more closely in how discernment, lack of discernment, how that's related to desire, attachment, lust, grasping, frustration, and how to achieve Amitabha's quality now, here, before you get to the Pure Land. And the more you are able to achieve it now, here, the more seamless your transition to Amitabha's Pure Land. So in the proper understanding, where you combine both sutra and secret mantra, it also doesn't rule out, actual rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land. Sometimes in this kind of secular Buddhism, or whatever they call it, even those who don't carry the label, underneath, it's still hiding back there. It's this secular materialist, not secular, materialist idea. Whereas all of this is real, Everything else is just symbolic. And our bias towards materiality is so strong that even many Buddhist teachers, myself included, sometimes slip into this uh, understanding that somehow all these Buddhas, hell, heaven, all that is symbolic. But this is real. But no, actually, Buddha says, this is as real and as symbolic as that. Sukhavati is as real and as symbolic and as not real as this is real, symbolic, and not real. Until we achieve the non-duality of that, you cannot just take just, all those are symbolic. Oh, the real meaning of Amitabha is to be without desire now. Okay, I got that. It's not going to work. Fourth wisdom, clearing jealousy. Then the all-accomplishing wisdom of the karma family. Now karma is no longer a problem. That's why it's called karma family. Now karma is no longer a problem. Before we have this understanding, we think karma is a problem. So we are always hoping, when I achieve Buddhahood, karma doesn't apply anymore. I can do whatever I want. No, it's not that karma doesn't apply anymore. It's you so fully and thoroughly work within the framework of karma so that everything you do accomplishes the happiness and welfare of others. That's the all-accomplishing wisdom. So secret mantra teachings and techniques and practices, they are all based on, grounded in this organizing principle of the five Buddha families. So to these five Buddha families, you can also map on the four Buddha activities in the four directions with the central Buddha activity of achieving Buddhahood. That is the ultimate Buddha activity, leading all beings to Buddhahood. From there arises the four types of activities, right? Last week I talked about this in relation to the four immeasurables: pacifying activity, increasing activity, magnetizing activity, destroying activity. Then onto these five Buddha families, you could also map the five directions. You can map the five elements with space as the underlying element, although space is technically not an element. Space is what makes the other four elements possible. The five skandhas, the five aggregates, are also mapped onto these five Buddha families. So all of this, you should study. You should acquaint yourself with this organizing principle of the five Buddha families. I believe many years ago I taught a series on the five Buddha families. I think it is on the YouTube channel, only as audio, no video. Now I have to put a disclaimer. Some of the ways I talked about things back then, I now would modify. Okay, so Hanlai, 2.0, what you're hearing now, right, should serve as a critique of some of the things that I may have said, okay, 15 years ago. But basically, it's right. It's just the nuance, okay? So just as a disclaimer. So we have reached the point for our lunch break here. But before we go, maybe, because we're all now on Zoom, every one of us, just walk to our microwave, except for in Cusco and Guatemala. But anyway, yes, for the sake of people in Cusco and Guatemala at the center, and I'm very happy that you are at the center. You all have heard me say again and again and again that centers are very important places. Don't take for granted your physical center. You have to make efforts to come to the center. It's good for you, it's good for others. If you feel sometimes, oh, I don't need to go to the center, then go to the center for the sake of others. If you feel like, I don't want to go to the center because I get annoyed, good. That's how you're going to improve. Remember the potato? Did I talk about the potato? Washing potatoes. So washing potatoes, to wash one by one, it'll take forever. But if you put the whole sack of potatoes, put water in them, shake and shake and shake and shake, one potato will rub against the other potato. All the dirt will be cleared. That's the purpose of getting together, so that you can rub off each other's dirt and be done with it. So don't treat your Sangha members as adversaries. Treat them as most kind to you. Kampopa talks about this, all the things that you don't like. If you are really practicing Mahamudra, then you need to begin to look at them differently and say, this is good for me. Everything, technology, this and that, is making us more and more and more self-centered. But we don't. Of course, we don't walk around thinking, yeah, I'm more self-centered. Nobody likes that, because deep down we know, makes you an ass, So you don't like that, But we become more and more self-centered through technology. Then we become less and less connected to other human beings. Be careful, don't do that. Yeah. So thank you, those of you who have turned up at the centers where you can. We wanted to turn up at Urban Dharma too, but nature says not today. So we will break now, so that those who are at the centers, you need to run around looking for food. So we'll take a break. When we come back, I will start with taking some questions, and then we go from there, okay? But first, bodhicitta dedication before you squander away your merit from this morning's session. Chanchu sem cho rinpoche ma ge pa na ge gyu che ge pa nyam pa me pa yang go ne gong du bel shu. In the secret mantra teachings about Drupchen, and this applies to this as well, it says, if you are just practicing yourself alone, the effect is whatever effect you have gained alone. But if you are practicing together with a group, then if there are 5 people there, the result, the positive result that arises, each of you get 5 portions. And so those of you who are at the Guatemala Center, at the Cusco Center, now start counting how many people are together with you, and rejoice that you now have all their merit as well. Okay, happy lunch.